She paid $200. She paid $200 for a router. Not rented it, bought it, took it home, plugged it in, set up her network. And for 3 years, it worked perfectly. Then one morning, it didn't. No internet, no signal, nothing. She checked the cables, restarted it 4 times, called her ISP. They said the line was fine. She Googled the model number and found out that Motorola had quietly shut down. The app its entire router line depended on. No announcement, no refund, no replacement. The router was the same hardware it always was. But Motorola flipped a switch on a server somewhere, and it became a $200 paperweight. She didn't break it. They did. And there is nothing she can do about it. Here's what happened. Motorola sold a line of Wi-Fi routers that required an app called Moto Sync Plus to function, not for premium features, to work at all. In May 2026, the app went down. Motorola said nothing for days. When they finally responded, it was a single support post. We are aware of the issue. That was it. No timeline, no fix, no apology. Thousands of routers across dozens of households simply stopped working. And the reason this is legal is that you never actually bought the router. You bought the hardware. The software that makes it function, that belongs to Motorola, and they can pull it whenever they want. Motorola is not the exception. They're the norm. In 2019, Sonos announced it would stop supporting older speakers with software updates. Not that the speakers would break, just that Sonos reserved the right to make them worse over time. Customers paid $400, $500, $600 for speakers that would quietly degrade. Sony shut down the PlayStation 3 store in 2021. Games that people had purchased digitally, legally, legitimately, simply stopped being accessible. Adobe, in 2024, discontinued Substance 3D Connector. Anyone who had built a workflow around it found out, via a blog post, that their tools no longer worked. Peloton removed entire music libraries from bikes customers had already paid $2,000 for. One day the songs were there. The next day, they weren't. Same bike, less product, no refund. So how is this legal? Open any software EULA, the license agreement you click through without reading, when you set up a new device, buried somewhere in that document. Usually around page 4 or 5 of text no one reads, is a clause that says something like this. The company reserves the right to modify, suspend, or discontinue any service or feature at any time, with or without notice, without liability. You agreed to that. Every time, on every device, what you thought was a purchase was actually a conditional license. The product works as long as the company decides it should. Here's the scale of this. Americans spend roughly $150 billion per year on consumer electronics. Routers, smart TVs, home assistants, gaming consoles, security cameras, e-readers, fitness trackers. Almost every single one of these products now requires a back-end server to function, a cloud connection, an app, a subscription service. That means the company that sold you the product holds a permanent off switch. And here's the business incentive to use it. A company that sells you a router once makes $200 from you. A company that sells you a router and a monthly subscription makes $200 plus $24 a year forever. The fastest way to get you onto the subscription? Make the one-time purchase feel unreliable, brick it, or let it slowly degrade. or just make it slightly worse each update. Until you buy the new model. This is not a bug in the system. This is the business model. 20 years ago, a router was a router. You bought it. It worked. It kept working. There was no server it needed to phone home to. There was no app. There was no EULA. The hardware was the product. Today, the hardware is just the entry point. The real product is your ongoing dependence on the company's infrastructure. They moved the value from the device you can hold to servers you will never see. And then they made you pay for the device anyway. You own the shell. They own everything that makes it work. You can't opt out. Modern routers need firmware updates. Smart TVs need OS support. Home security systems need cloud connectivity. The entire product category has been redesigned around a dependency you can never escape. And the companies know this. They designed it this way. Because a customer who owns something outright has no reason to keep paying. But a customer whose product could stop working tomorrow is a customer you can charge forever. Sarah bought a router. She thought she owned it. She did not. She never did. The company held the real asset the whole time, and when it was no longer profitable to keep her router working, they took it back, quietly, without notice, completely legally. That's the Quuthet theft. Not dramatic, not obvious, just $200 and a switch they flipped when you weren't looking.